Gangnam Insiders Picks, Sunday on CNA. This program is brought to you by the Gangnam-gu office. This is Asia Now.
It is 5 p.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong, 2:30 in New Delhi and 4 o'clock in Jakarta. I'm Jill Newbronner. At this hour, younger people in Malaysia are testing positive for COVID-19 as the country continues to register a record number of new infections. The city that was once Australia's worst COVID-19 hotspot, Melbourne, to go into a snap lockdown, its fourth since the pandemic began. And China accuses the US of politicizing the pandemic after President Joe Biden orders a review of COVID-19 origins. More young people in Malaysia are testing positive for COVID-19. Its health minister says there's been a marked increase in those aged 20 to 40 who are at a critical stage of infection. Many of these cases show no signs of illness before suddenly developing serious symptoms. There are also more cases unlinked to any clusters. Malaysia's COVID-19 cases continue to soar with a record number of new infections of more than 7,800 today. It is the third day in a row with the number of new cases surpassing the 7,000 mark. Authorities are now working to make improvements to the vaccine registration system. A local official says more than 1 million people tried to sign up online for their shots, causing the system to be disrupted. Many Malaysians have expressed their frustration online for being unable to secure their vaccination despite trying to get into the system early. Malaysia is currently offering the AstraZeneca vaccine to anyone over the age of 18. Vaccine bookings are only open to residents in Johor, Kuala Lumpur, Penang, Sarawak and Selangor. Australia has placed its second most populous state of Victoria under another snap lockdown, this time round for a week starting midnight, as Melbourne City faces a surge in COVID-19 infections. Acting State Premier James Merlino says evidence is growing that officials are dealing with the highly infectious B1617 variant first detected in India. Authorities also blame hotel quarantine failures and a slow vaccine rollout for the latest outbreak. This is the fourth time the government has put Victoria under a lockdown since the pandemic began. Mr. Merlino described it as a circuit breaker designed to allow contact tracers to get on top of cases. The new restrictions will see a ban on public gatherings. Residents are permitted to leave their homes only for essential reasons, which includes getting vaccinated. And most students will move to remote learning. Victoria earlier this morning reported 12 new cases, 11 from Melbourne. To prevent further contagion, Prime Minister Scott Morrison is urging all who are eligible to get vaccinated.
There are ample vaccines for those who will come forward and receive those vaccines in Victoria. And our simple message to them is to please come forward and do that.
Brianna Piazza with more on Australia's inoculation drive and why officials are blaming the latest outbreak on vaccination hesitancy.
The vaccine rollout has been fraught with difficulties from the very beginning for Australia. So already since this latest outbreak, we're starting to see vaccination hubs in Victoria getting busier. So it seems to have actually pushed more people to get vaccinated, which is what authorities want to see. We heard earlier today from Acting Premier James Merlino that had more Victorians actually been vaccinated in this case, then we may not be potentially facing another lockdown like we are now. So that could have really changed the situation. The issue that we're dealing with in terms of the vaccination drive is it's not just a slow rollout, but we're also seeing increasing hesitancy among the population to get vaccinated. And then in addition to that, complacency. So we have people who are saying, well, if we don't have many cases of COVID in Australia, then what's the point in getting vaccinated? There's no real urgent need. So that is definitely something that authorities hope the latest outbreak will change that sense of complacency.
Criticism over the central government's hotel quarantine system has been growing. Calls are getting louder for officials to build more fit-for-purpose isolation facilities.
All of the recent outbreaks in Australia have been linked to hotel quarantine failures, and that's because health experts say hotels are not ideally designed to quarantine people for COVID-19, and that's because of the risk of aerosol spread. That is how we're seeing the virus escape from hotel quarantine. People who return from overseas who aren't infected but end up getting infected because the person staying next door to them in the corridor, they're spreading the infection through the corridor and into their hotel rooms. So that is what has authorities, particularly across the states, concerned. Many are calling on the federal government to build more fit-for-purpose quarantine facilities. Currently, it is the states that are running the hotel quarantine facilities. And basically what we're hearing is that experts are saying that we can expect more and more outbreaks like this to happen in Australia.
China says politicizing the origins of COVID-19 would hamper further investigations and undermine global efforts to curb the pandemic. That's in response to US President Joe Biden's call for a closer look into the origins of the virus. Mr. Biden has ordered intelligence agencies to review their information on how the virus emerged. He wants a report within 90 days. He specifically asked to focus on whether the source was from an animal host or a laboratory. The Chinese embassy in the US says some political forces have been fixated on political manipulation and the blame game. It adds that it supports the comprehensive study of all early cases of COVID-19 found worldwide and a thorough investigation into secretive bases and biological laboratories. This latest war of words follows fresh speculation about a lab leak in China, which Beijing has denied repeatedly. The WHO in February visited the lab in question, the Wuhan Institute of Virology. It concluded a lab leak was extremely unlikely, but did not rule it out. This week, the Wall Street Journal reported 3 researchers from the lab became sick in November 2019. And that is a month before China first alerted the WHO to a mysterious pneumonia outbreak.
You know, China wasn't transparent enough. We have been saying that for a very long time, that China needed to provide more access to the lab.
Simon Marks tells us what is driving the Biden administration to launch a further probe now into the origins of COVID-19.
Well, I think it's certainly a response to days of questions that reporters were asking and questions that some members of Congress were raising following the publication by the Wall Street Journal of those reports. President Biden's press secretary has been asked relentlessly by reporters for several days now why he is not pushing for a greater degree of investigation into whether the laboratory in Wuhan may have been responsible for COVID-19. In his statement today, it was notable that he spoke about the possibility of an accident in the lab. Notable also that he made it clear, revealed effectively, that there is a division among his top intelligence advisors as to whether COVID-19 originated as a result of an accident in that laboratory or whether it originated in the wet market in Wuhan. So he's giving them 90 days to try and make a final unanimous determination. And at the White House today, the president's press secretary and then some of his top public health advisors made it absolutely clear that they believe that more work now needs to be done by both the US and China.
We need to get to the bottom of this, and we need a completely transparent process from China. We need the WHO to assist in that matter. We don't feel like we have that now. We need to get to the bottom of this, whatever the answer may be.
Because we don't know 100% what the origin is, it's imperative that we look and we do an investigation.
Very interesting that Dr. Anthony Fauci is backing all of this, because over recent weeks he has remained skeptical about the possibility that COVID-19 originated in that lab, mounting pressure then on China to do more to assist in the investigation. And President Biden saying to his intelligence chiefs, the clock's ticking. You've got 90 days to reach a conclusion and solve the mystery.
India's Odisha state will screen 650,000 people for COVID-19.